Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my Sunday live stream where we talk about photography, and I do the best I can to answer any questions you might have about Olympus cameras in particular, but anything photographic related, I'll do my best to help you. And also just to kind of catch up and see what's going on with everyone. It's always a treat for me, the highlight of my day, to come out and sit down and just kind of hang out with a great group of people here and photographers. And I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend it with me. Um, it, like I said, it just makes my day, makes me happy. So I went out on a photo walk this morning with the local photography club, the 495 Virginia Beltway Photo Club. I think that's the name of it, but it's run by David Crooks here, who's usually here. I didn't check the chat section yet to see if he's come in yet, but uh, he uh, he found me, I guess, on YouTube and discovered I was local to him and reached out, and I'm always going to be grateful for that because it really it's gotten me out of the house a lot more often than I otherwise normally would have, and getting some great photo opportunities. And it's always good practice too, right, to get out there. And in the last few trips, I'd say half the time I went out with my Olympus Pen F, and also I've been taking my new where is it? Yeah, my also. So I have my Pen F film camera, which I got about 3 or 4 frames left on this, and then I took my Pen F digital camera out, and so I shot these side by side, and I tried to get some images, and I'm going to compare them later in another video. Uh, film Pen F versus the Olympus Pen F, and what I did was I set up the framing for the same aspect ratio, because this camera shoots vertically or in portrait mode. Like if you normally hold your camera like this, on this camera you can hold it like this and it's portrait, but then this way is landscape mode like most cameras, and it shoots half of the 35 millimeter frame versus um, the full 35 millimeters. So it's really an interesting camera, and it's a lot of fun to shoot with, and it gets me to shoot in portrait mode um, a lot more often. I mean, every shot basically is portrait mode, and it's really getting me to see things a little bit differently too. Like, I'll just show you this one. I was just going through the images from that I took this morning. I just got back like 10 minutes ago. But let me see. That's not it. Those are my blurry pictures. What the heck? Here it is. This is one. This is straight out of camera JPEG, but this is very similar to how the film Pen F shoots, is in this vertical mode, and you can set the aspect ratio to 3:4 on your Pen F, or on any of your Olympus cameras if you want to shoot this way. And it looks like it's what, 3:4, so it's about 11 megapixel image instead of 20. So it cuts it in half when you frame it that way, but that's okay. I shoot the raw plus JPEG, so I always have the full size as well. But I did have a couple of good keepers in here. And these are all the straight out of camera JPEGs. This one, let's see if that got focus. Yeah, that's looking good. And this was with my 75 to 300. I took it out today because I rarely take that lens out at all anymore. Um, but it seemed like there was good light this morning. And I tried to get some birds flying. Oh, what's this? This looks interesting. Eh, okay. But I was using monochrome profile number 2. Oh, that looks pretty good. But we'll see. I'll have to go through the images. This image here is, whoops, I didn't frame that one too well. I think that's the framing I wanted. This one here is color profile number 2 on the Pen F, which is supposed to mimic film, I guess. But it's interesting. I'd probably just do a, I don't know why I'm editing now, but I'd probably do a 16:9 on this. and crop it in about there. I think that makes for a little more interesting image. And I was using my 25mm f1.8 on this shot, so I just loaded these in. I haven't even gone through them yet. But the Pen F is like the worst camera ever for focusing. Oh, I was really struggling with all these birds in flight. Is that it? 191 images, 138 raw. Oh, wow, not all of them loaded. The card error or something. Well, anyway, how do I get back to my normal screen? There it is. let me check the chat section here and see who's here, what's new. If there was any questions, because I was just kind of jabbering there a bit. Okay, Scott Mumford, #1. All right, DeMorgan, good to see you. And Dave Nelson, Dave Nelson said, Japanese in talks with Kodak to buy Olympus. Really? Kodak figures that the way to get themselves going again. Sale pending. Wow, that was fast. Wouldn't that be something? You know, Kodak puts sensors in the early Micro Four Third cameras. This one in particular, actually. Where is it hiding? This one. This E500 has a Kodak sensor in it. Things kind of just coming full circle, right? Wow. I did not know that. I haven't been keeping up with the news on that as much as I should have. And so thanks for that heads up, Dave Nelson. That's interesting. I wonder where you heard that. Probably on 43 Rumors or something, right? There's so many sites out there. Oh, and Christian Johannes Eppel, very good. Good to see you. Write any music lately? Any scores? Every time I see Johannes now, I think about classical music. John Follows, good to see you. John Yutze. Thomas Jenkins, hello. Up there in New York, awesome. And yeah, David Crooks, yeah, we just got back from breakfast. I got the sampler. I know, I'm now almost at the age, like they have a 55 and older menu where you save a couple bucks. You know, I almost got it, but they didn't have hash browns on the menu with all this different things there. So I guess maybe carbs are bad for old people, so they don't put those kind of things on there. But then there's pancakes. Anyway, it was like $6.99 to get like one egg, one pancake, one sausage, one bacon, and I think that was it, $6.99. And I was like, that's not bad. But then I could get double that: 2 eggs, 2 sausage, 2 bacon, 2 eggs, and some hash browns for $11.99. So they doubled the price basically. So it's cheaper to get one normal like meal versus 2 senior meals. And I said, well, I'll just get the normal one. I save $1 getting it that way. And then coffee. And then, you know, when you go out, if you can, you know, tip as much as you can to your waitress, assuming they give you, you know, decent service. And she was very good, actually. So I tipped, gosh, a little over 30%, you know, on my meal, but it was only a $15 meal. So I tipped $5. And, you know, with the coffee and tax came out to 15. But, you know, you know, it's slow in the restaurant business. And, you know, it's just those kind of times that if you can give a little bit extra, if there's this opportunity like that, like when you go out to a restaurant, you know, just try to give a little extra if you can. Because I have some friends that are waitresses and bartenders and stuff, and yeah, it's been hard on them. It's been hard on everybody, you know, including myself. Like I said, I haven't had a photo job in, God, clearly 7 weeks. We're going on 8 now once we start tomorrow. And it's been, and I checked, you know, I do real estate photography, and I checked their sites, the various agents, and they don't have any new listings either, which surprises me a little bit because I was rocking up until November. Then November was like a light switch, just lights out, you know. um, so it's apparently, I don't know what happened with them either. Maybe, I mean, one agent is getting a few listings, but she doesn't use me as much as she used to. She found another guy that's better than I am and cheaper. And I told her he's great, you know, and if he's going to charge you less, definitely call him. You know, still call me for those last minute, you know, or time sensitive jobs because I'm local and I can get the job done and I'm competent. You know, I do a good job, but this guy is definitely next level. Like if I'm a 7 out of 10, he's like an 8 or 9 out of 10 in terms of quality of photography. And the fact that he's charging less doesn't help me either. I mean, if I was a 7 and charging less, you know, that would be okay, but I'm charging more for just a tiny bit less lower quality image. And you wonder what's the difference between, say, an 8 or 9 level photographer versus like a 7 like I am. And me being a 7 puts me way ahead of, I think most real estate photographers are like a 5 or less, from my point of view. You know, I don't know what they charge, but they better charge a lot less than I do. And I feel like, you know, well, what I was trying to get at, the difference is in how they control the lighting, you know, and are able to pull back the because when you do real estate photography, you have to do a lot of flash work and ambient light work and blend those together. And a lot of times when you're using flash, you get a lot of harsh shadows, right? Uh, you know, you try to diffuse it best you can, but it's unavoidable because sometimes ceilings have these pillars, and just a shadow gets cast on that, and um, so really shadows all over from furniture and fixtures and all kinds of things. And I can get rid of most of the shadows and blend the lighting fairly well, but there's some times when I struggle with that a bit, getting the photo to look natural, right? Like a natural ambient lit shot. And one thing in particular is color casting is a big problem for me. I mean, again, I mute the colors to kind of hide it a little bit. And ultimately, the image looks great, I think, but it's not to the level that this guy can do. And that's the difference is we can take the same shot, but when you look at his shot versus my shot, his shots are, the shadow work is amazing. Like there's no harsh shadows, there's no um, weird shadows. Like sometimes they turn orange, the color casting and stuff. There's none of that. It's very clean. Whereas in my photos, like 8 out of 10 will be perfect, no problem, just like his. But then there'll be a couple of shots where clearly, you know, particularly larger rooms, he's doing a better job with the shadows and stuff across the room. Because the other hard thing about larger rooms is getting the light even when you're taking a picture, right? So you don't want the light to be really bright in this room and then the room right behind it very dark that you can see very clearly. So you know, I bought some new flashes after looking at his pictures, to try to balance the light a little better room to room. And I wanted to practice some. You know, I can practice in my own house, but my house is tiny compared to a lot of the properties that I do. So I can balance the light with one flash, but two flashes, you really need 2, 3 flashes to do a good job in larger properties. And I think that's the key difference is in the equipment and also technique, right? Because I don't have a lot of practice using multiple lights. I mean, sometimes I use 2 lights, uh, but really I need 3 to get the job done, I think, to the level he's doing. So I bought new flashes. I bought a freaking video, you know, capable camera, the Panasonic S5, because I had great jobs September, October. And then phew, November, nothing. And I spent all this freaking money, you know, like 3 grand on lighting and equipment, and you know, racked up my credit cards. thinking I could pay it off in a couple of months if I get the same level of jobs. And I don't know why I'm stressing myself out. This should be a happy place, right? Anyhow, let's see. Good morning, Errol. Good to see you. And Moises Bay's Photography. Hi. And let's see. I didn't even do a mic check or a video check. I hope everybody can see and hear me okay. I should do that first before I even start jibber jabbering. Because there's been times when like I'll be talking for 10 minutes and no mic. You guys have been there that have been there with me a long time. And let's see, Lord Ahab is asking, what difference does f80 to 110 compared to f80 140 on a lens? Let me think for a second. I'm not used to looking at numbers like that, but since it's a ratio 80 to 110, 80 to 140. Let me see, this lens is 1. I'm trying to find a lens because I've never seen ratios like that. Usually I see 1 to 18 or okay, this is 3.5 to I can't answer that one, Lord. I don't have any lenses that have anything like that. Like this is 2.8 to 3.5. But a capital F versus a lowercase f, sometimes there's a difference. Let me see. None of these, usually the older vintage lenses have that stuff on them. I don't know. Maybe someone here in the forum can answer. That's a good question. I'm stumped. And then David says, Malaysia's supposed to be locked down again tomorrow. Wow, that would affect Robin Wong, our friend Robin Wong. He's a YouTuber here. Yeah, real estate is hard during Christmas, New Year's. And Seraphin says, Florida's getting all the California and New York tourists right now in Florida. Almost as many of those license plate. Really? So restaurants are booming. That's awesome. And Moises asking, what do I charge? Depends on the agent. The newer agents, I charge a little bit more, but just on average, it's about $200 a property, just on average, in this area. You know, some agents I charge less, like 150. Some agents I charge like 200 or a little more, depending on the job, just for the photo job. And then I tack on 100 to 150 for video work if I'm on site. If I have to do it separately, video work is 150 to 250, depending on the size of the property. So, you know, it's relatively speaking, it's pocket change for most people, right? Most people that have a career or day job make a lot more than a real estate photographer, I would think, on average. Now, granted, there's always those photographers that are doing, you know, 100, 200 jobs a year, and they're making bank. And then there's other photographers that do maybe 30 or 40 jobs a year, and they're still making bank because they're doing luxury and properties. And those typically go $800 to $1,000 for photo and video work. And then there's add-ons and things that tack on. You know, if you want to do twilight shots, which have kind of dropped in popularity, not many people care about that anymore. It was kind of neat at first, I guess, but it's kind of lost its luster. And then if you want to do 360 type work, which I'm starting to offer now, but it's, you know, maybe I'm charging too much. So I'm charging like, you know, my quoted rate is $250 to do 360 video or 360 photography walkthrough type property. And you know, you know, the agents, they can't spend that kind of money sometimes, or they don't want to. Most likely they don't want to, because the properties in this area are like $1 million plus on average, which In most of the country, that's a luxury property. In this area, that's like an average house. You know, the average selling price in this area is like 750,000. That's the median price. I'm sorry, the median price. The averages are, I don't know where the average is, but that the median means half as many sold above that as did below that. So you got to figure half of them are like condos and things, which are 400, 500,000 for condos. And then single families go for 700 to, you know, a couple of million. I mean, there's this townhouse I did in October. It's $1.4 million for a freaking townhouse. You know, I'm like, I'm not spending, you know, $1.4 million on a matchbox of a house, you know? And there's no yard or anything, right? It's just a freaking townhouse. I mean, it was nice, but 1.4 million, you know, you're thinking like, you know, gated fence in the front, a huge, you know, outdoor and indoor pool with a bowling alley in the basement. You know, it's like, that's what I think of when I think of 1.4 million in most places. But in this area, you know, you're just scratching the surface, you know? Uh, Now, when you get further out, the properties get more expensive, but it's like this other photographer, you know, he's charging like $175 for 6,000 square feet. I mean, and he does a good job. It's like, I don't know if I could do it. You know, that's like 40, 50 pictures, you know, and it's like an hour and a half to 2 hours on site, plus another couple hours of editing, because it's a lot of images for $175. I don't know how he does it. You know, and he does drone work for like 50 bucks. I mean, just shocking. So you know, I just have to work on my networking and really, you can charge more to clients that trust you and you have a good rapport with. They don't mind paying a little bit extra to get you. Not because your work is particularly better than another photographer. Like in my case, it's not with this guy, but because I have a good relationship with my agents, they won't go anywhere else. And time to time, I'll throw in freebies. Like there was there was this one time as a commercial property where the two offices, they were separate listings, but they were right next door to each other, right across the hall, and they were only like 800 square feet each, right? Two small offices. So I just charged them one for one, and I said, you know, buy one get one free today, you know. So they you know, 'cause time-wise, you know, I was in and out in an hour on both offices, and then maybe barely an hour of post-processing, editing, because there's only about, you know, 7 or 8 pictures in each office. So I just gave them a 2 for 1. So they, you know, so you throw a bone every now and then for when you can. And then sometimes when the property's much bigger, you know, you discount it and charge less. Uh, so anyway, that, you know, it's all, you just have to feel it out really. But, you know, pricing and real estate photography in this area on average is $200 a property on average. And you charge more for extras and a little less for agents that have been with you a long time. Because when you're just starting out, you have to charge less because you don't have the portfolio, you don't have the referrals or references, you don't have the experience, quite frankly. Because there's a lot of little things in real estate photography that, you know, you learn as you go. You know, like one of the mistakes I made on my very first job is I left the toilet seats up. You know, not the rim, but just the lid. That's kind of a no-no. And then uh, if there's a double sink in the bathroom and I couldn't get the camera wide enough, because bathrooms are tiny and then they put these big double sinks in them. Sometimes I would only take a picture of the one sink, you know, and you know, a double sink's a big selling point in a house, right? So you miss these little things and you pick up as you go. So you have to charge a little bit less, one, because of your level of experience and referrals and all of that, and then also because you want to start building your client base, right? So if you do good work and you're charging less, the first first handful of agents, I wouldn't say several, but the first handful of agents, you charge less than the market. You know, 50 bucks less. I was charging $100 on my first jobs 5, 6 years ago. Um, and then I just racked it up as I accumulated new agents. I charge a little more, a little more. You know, you just tack on $25, $25, but you're going to hit this plateau where you can't charge more because now you're overpriced compared to the market, and people are just going to go somewhere else, which is kind of the case with this one agent. I lost most of her business, which it's not my fault. It's really because she found a better photographer. So kudos to that guy. And I emailed that guy and I said, hey, you know, you're doing great work. I told the agent that she should keep using you, but he just kind of ignored me. I don't know why, because I wanted to outsource him actually for some drone work, but he's not interested. Okay, let's see. And then that was what do you charge? And Edian, good to see you. And Errol says, is it my eyes or is the chat column black against white sometimes? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's just your bandwidth on the the YouTube. So when you see the chat section go blurry, I probably go a little bit blurry too. And Lysippus, how are you? What camera systems do your competitors use? Well, this one guy in particular that I've been talking about, he uses a Canon 5D Mark IV with a, I think it's a 14 millimeter tilt shift lens. So he's got, you know, $5,000 or $6,000 in camera gear and lens, plus I know his lighting system. He's got to be using 600 watt, you know, strobes to be able to light the properties the way he's doing it. So, you know, he's probably walking in there with $7,000 or $8,000 in gear to do the work, you know, with the drones and the various lenses. He only used the one lens, I could tell. But that's what he's using. You know, I use the M1 Mark III and the Kodaks, and I bought the 8400, and I bought this, this is the V1 round head flash. And then my 8400, you know, is just a big strobe. So that's what I need to go out and get some jobs with, so I can use this new lighting and my new frickin' camera and get my money back. But I might do a video on flashes because, you know, I've been using I had been using my Godox TT350 with my 8200 flash for my jobs, and this was sufficient. But that when I get into larger spaces, this is when I run into problems. So I got this for to be my on-camera flash and radio trigger, and then because I was using this radio trigger. So I might have to go back to this. I'm going to start using multiple flashes. It's just a lot easier, but sometimes it's better to use this as a radio trigger, and because I always like to have a little light right directly in front that I can bounce or point where I need it to, and then I put the other flash. Well, anyway, that's a whole other video. uh, Robin Wong, hey, how are you? Gosh, you were here. Oh, I'm so behind on the things. Just a quick drop, say hello, getting sleepy. It's past midnight. Oh, I'm sorry, Robin, but thanks for dropping in. I hope you're still here. But it's awesome to see you. And then Terry Noon says, Rob, do you ever use LED lights rather than flashes? Or are they too, yeah, they're too limiting. They're just not enough power. I think for video work, it might be helpful. But I haven't done enough video work to get a feel for using external lighting at the same time. I'm thinking about it because there are some properties where there's no windows, like in offices inside of a building. And the lighting, the fluorescent lighting that's in there is poor quality lighting to begin with, but then sometimes it's not bright enough because there'll be a couple of bulbs out. And that's when I struggle sometimes with my EM1 Mark III is in low light. So that's why I got the S5, is because I needed a little more latitude. And I was thinking using more lighting for video work, but for photography, no, definitely I use flash because it's a lot more powerful than LED lighting. because the most powerful LED lights that are flash capable, you have to plug in to a wall. I haven't seen any battery operated ones. And if there are ones that are battery operated and have the kind of power output that our normal flash has, they're probably really expensive, right? You know, Profoto or somebody probably makes one, but they probably want a couple $1,000, and I can't afford that. And let's see. Corna says 2021 will be better. Don't worry about 2020. Yeah, I'm so done with 2020. It's like, my sister's dog died the other day, and I feel so bad. It's like, what else is going to happen this year? And here, I don't know how it is in other places around the world, but here, a dog is like part of your family, and it's heartbreaking when they pass. It was a little sudden, but he was a little bit older and did have some issues. But yeah, it's just very sad when your dog passes because they're really part of your family. I had 3 dogs. Now I'm on my 4th dog. I'm going to start tearing up. This is supposed to be a happy place. And let's see, Casper's here. Good to see you. Jeff Painter. And everybody's saying hi to Robin. I appreciate that. Everybody say hey to Robin. He's an awesome, awesome YouTuber here. And he's always been very good. He's going to bed, I guess, but he's always been very good about answering questions in my chat section when I can't. Or even when I can, he gets to you first before I do. So either way, it's fine. I mean, we're all here to help, and that's what I really love about the community that we're in, is that the YouTubers, Peter, Robin, oh my God, my brain, Maddie, we're all here to help. Jimmy Chang, and we work together to do the very best we can for our viewers. And if there's ever, if we ever need any help from each other, we have this little community on Facebook. It's a private group, but, that we can help each other out. So I'm very, very fortunate to find such a great community, including all of you, the viewers. And then Corna said, some manufacturers used F for the focal length. Yeah, that's what gets me, is he's got F equals, and this is back to the original question about 80. The ratio was 80 to 110 or 80 to 140. So I was a little bit confused. I mean, it's a little bit too tight to be a focal length, 80 to 110. 80 to 140 maybe, but that's very short range zoom. I didn't think it was focal length, but then if we're talking about aperture, maybe we're talking about f8 to f11, but again, that's a very limited range for aperture. So that's why I was a little confused on that question. And Marcel is asking about lighting. I know you want to get everything even, but can you play with a little higher ISOs and get a bright lens? This is the problems you talk about arise at early morning or late afternoon. No, I'm talking about lighting indoor, Marcel, because I could be in, say, the living room, which has very large windows, right? And lots of nice ambient light coming in. And then, assuming it's a bright day, right? A nice day. But then, right around the corner, off to the side, might be the dining room or an office. An office where there's not as much lighting coming in because it's on the other side of the house. The lighting is coming in from one side, but then the rooms on the other side of the frame, the lighting's not coming in that way, so it's much darker. And then when you start turning the lights on in the house, a lot of times you have mixed lighting. You might have nice, strong ambient light in the living room and some overhead lamps, or maybe some table lamps on the side tables. But then in the office might be fluorescent lighting, and especially in the kitchen is usually fluorescent and LED lighting. And you turn all those on, and then the white balance is different in every room. So if you take a picture, you got one room is fine, then you got a room over here that looks all yellow, then another room over here that looks all green. has a green cast, and it looks terrible. So you have to use flash to balance out the white balance across and even out the lighting when there's very different levels of lighting on one side of the house versus the other. So using a higher ISO and brighter lens is not the problem. And that's why using Micro Four Thirds is never a problem in real estate photography, in my opinion, because you're on a tripod, you're using base ISO generally, and so the key to real estate photography is balancing the white balance and the lighting across larger spaces. And that's where I still struggle a little bit because I didn't have enough power. I had my TT350 and an 8200, which is fine for most places that I've been running into, but time to time I get a larger property, and that's when I was struggling, and I had to take multiple images to get the lighting right. So I take one picture with a flash in this room, I take another picture with a flash in that room, another picture with a flash in that room. So I'm taking like about 12 shots for one image. And then I have to blend all those back in post-processing and then watch out for shadows. And that's what I mean. With larger spaces, this other guy was really good with, and I still need to practice and get a feel for doing it myself. I mean, in concept, right? In theory, I know how to do it all, but it's very different when you go out and actually do it in real life, right? So I have the theory down of how to do it, but I have to go out and practice. But yeah, brighter lens, higher ISO is a non-issue with the kind of problems I'm talking about. I'll use a higher ISO time to time um, when the flash doesn't quite reach to the back of the room. So increasing the ISO effectively increases the power of the flash. So I do get more light towards the back. So in some cases, yes, a higher ISO will help, but that's pretty minimal. That's not a substitute for actually lighting everything evenly. Yeah, Thomas Jenkins says softbox, diffuse screen, slave flash. Yeah, all of that. I haven't found a need for a softbox because I would use an umbrella instead of a softbox because the they're just so big and clumsy, and I'm walking around with an umbrella, or it could knock things over. So I try to avoid using umbrellas or any kind of diffusion. Other than I will carry a one of those reflectors with the white on the end, and I will use that to bounce the flash off, off the reflector instead of off the wall. Because a lot of times in houses, the walls are a different color than the ceiling. And when you pop a flash, that color cast from whatever color the wall is will spread across the entire room. So I'll bounce the flash off a reflector so that minimizes that effect. But sometimes it's still a problem because, particularly with wood, man, I had this one place that was just, everything was wood and the ceiling. I'll have to find that picture and show it to you. It's it's something. It came out okay, but I'll see if I can pull it up real quick without getting too far behind on the chat. Should be in here. But while that's pulling up, I just need to highlight this f80 to 140 widescreen anamorphic movie lens, maybe. Ah, see, Lord says, I found the lens I really like, anamorphic f80 to 110, 32 nap by Lomo, and the same lens, 80 to 140. Okay, yeah, that's video related, so that's an area that I'm not fluent in at all. I may be one day, but I'm not right now. I'm sorry, Lord Ahab. And DeMorgan says, Lauren, that is a projection lens rating for film projectors. Oh, okay. And somebody's asking Robin if he can shed light on the Kodak JIP news. I don't know. And then Robin says, I have no idea about JIP's involvement with Kodak. Am I missing another important update? Yeah, you and me both, Robin. Things moving fast, right? And HKM, how are you? Hope you're all having a nice Sunday. Yes, it's awesome. And I will get to your photo today. I'm going to do it first in the photo editing live stream because you dropped it in during the stream on Thursday. And I was just so tired. I'm tired today already, but I was so tired last night. I just couldn't get to it at the last minute. So I will get to your photo today. Um, and the Morgan says it projects 80 to 110 wide or 80 to 140 wide. The 140 would be wider for a wider screen movie. So it's an aspect ratio of an anamorphic lens. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense to me now, those numbers. But I've never had an anamorphic lens, so that's why it was totally new to me. And Steven says, sounds like you're not charging enough. Yeah, the pricing it's very competitive here. So yeah, trust me, when I raised the price one time by about 50 bucks, you know, on this one client, and he was upset. I was like, I'm like, sorry, man, it was like a 6,700 square foot office space. And he was expecting me to charge him the same as I do like a 2,000 square foot office space, you know? So he got a little upset. And we worked it out because, like I said, I have a good rapport with him. But we did have we had a sit down about pricing. And I said, so we worked something out. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, for the actual time you put in, and for the skill set required to do a really good job in real estate photography, it should be minimum 50 to 75 bucks an hour. And, so if you spend 3 hours on a job, 1 hour on site, 2 hours post-processing, with a little fudge room between the two, that's 3 hours. That's about 200 bucks, right? So that's the going rate. But sometimes, I spend like 4 or 5 hours editing, and then my rate gets down to 25 an hour is all I'm making. So, I look at it, you get a couple $100 for half a day's work, and I'm kind of content with that. But that's not enough to make a living for a lot of people, right? Because you don't get jobs every single day. At least I don't. And, uh, it can be, if you did get 5 days a week at 200 bucks a day, that's, 4,000 bucks. And that's okay. But in this area that I live in, that's not enough. When rent is like more than half that, just for rent or a mortgage, can be almost all of that. You're not going to survive on that in this area. And Des, how are you? And thank you, Moses. Moises Bayes Photography. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Uh, $5 super chat there. And here in Austria, there's no big real estate photography market. Oh, that's interesting. I know nothing about Austria. And then Lauren says, Rob, as long as no one is willing, as long as no one was sitting on the throne at the time, all is well in taking that photo. Yeah. There's this one, the other thing in bathrooms, when you do photography in bathrooms, is you have to make sure there aren't like 5 rolls of toilet paper and paper towels and everything everywhere in the bathroom, right? Or in the kitchen for that matter, rolls and rolls of paper towels. So I have to do a lot of decluttering. You make sure there's only 1 roll of toilet paper, if any, in the bathroom, and you put the rest under or out, take it out. I take out the trash cans and the plungers. I take all that out so that the bathroom is nice and clean. Um, and then I put everything back in. But yeah. And Lord Ahab said, if I use a 2x anamorphic lens on micro four third, Olympus 4/3 aspect ratio of the sensor will end up being 8:3 or not. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm so sorry. I have no experience with anamorphic lenses. And Marcio says, Robin, Wong, Peter, Jimmy, Red, Rob, great and humble people that make you love photography. Thanks for sharing. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. And thank you for being a viewer and photographer and a great member of the community, because that's really what's kept me on this channel, right? I mean, just like you guys, what keeps you watching a channel is you appreciate, people having some integrity and sincere and doing their best versus, and at the same time, we look for viewers that are, a positive influence on the community as well and appreciate those viewers, right? As opposed to, uh, the trolls and things that we get all the time, which, I really haven't had too many. Once in a blue moon, I'll get a troll. But for the most part, the community, you guys are awesome. And Nature says, using the LED rotolight with good results, does overall light for video and flash. Yeah, I remember you told me you bought one of those. I can't imagine that would have anywhere near enough power, though, as a flash, for what I do anyway. Oh, thank you, David. Yeah, that was sad. And, my family went to, well, anyway, we'll talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. Olympus Group is the best on the net. Yes, I agree. Secret Society lives, absolutely. And Edian says, well, happy to follow the Secret Society. I've learned so much from you guys. We're not secret. We're out there. But, we just, sometimes as creators, you need a place that we can talk a little bit more openly about things that you would care less about. Like, I did this whole spreadsheet on statistics and keywords and, all of these kind of metrics that you do as creators for YouTube, and compared them against, our peers. And, it's like, if you guys are watching, you'd be like this. You'd be out, because it's just so dry. But it's interesting as creators, right? To see what things, how our videos interact and feed off of each other, what keywords we're using, the type of contents and subjects that we talk about. So there's always that, and some creators think it's a waste of time, which I get, they're like, just focus on this, that, and the other thing, and don't worry about what other people are doing. They're your competitors, and if you want to really be hardcore and make your YouTube channel about business, which is what I think, like Tony and Chelsea's channel, Frono's Photo, their channels are very focused business first, right? And the topics are always, algorithm driven. What's hot right now, what's popular, what's new, what's the rumors, what's the news. Like Frono's Photo, no news fix. They pick topics that are pretty much guaranteed to get a lot of clicks and a lot of interest. When, personally, they may not care at all about what they're talking about. I don't know. Maybe they do. But, there's a lot of news out there that comes out that just are not on my radar at all, because I could care less about a Nikon Z6 II or a Z7 II or, whatever, this new Hasselblad that came out. It's like, when something new comes out, every major channel has news or information or reviews or whatever on that particular item, and your screen is just plastered with them. At least mine are, right? With everything. Like Kai from he used to be that other channel, but Kai Wong, he's also very product and news and popular driven, right? And they get tons of subscribers and views, and on top of that, they have a lot of they're very entertaining. They have great personalities, like Tony and Chelsea and Fro, definitely Kai, Camera Conspiracies. They have very, very exciting, big personalities that also drive views to their channels, and they're fun to watch. But like I said, it's, for a lot of these viewers or creators, it's business first. I'm not putting out a video, or they will not put out a video unless there's a business reason behind it, right? Whereas people like myself and Peter and Robin and Jimmy and, the Maddie, we put out videos that we think will be helpful and useful to the viewers and the community. And it doesn't have a huge audience like when a new camera launches, right? um, because the only time we get huge number of views usually is when Olympus, in the past, when Olympus releases a new camera, we talk about that camera, and then, the views go up because that has a much broader interest or base. But when we're kind of in between cameras, or like when it's news driven, like JIP taking over, right? Our viewership in terms of views skyrocket during those times. And that's how these other channels operate, is they look for new gear, cameras, news that are going to have a wide interest. But a lot of our videos, if you look at our channels, they're photography related, and they don't drive the same kind of views that these other channels can. And I think like there's other, like camera conspiracies, right? That's all he does is talk about. He's only talking about video, but all he does is talk about new cameras, comparing this to that, this to that. And he's much smarter than he leads on to be, obviously. I think most of us can see that he's a very, very bright person. Uh, but but he's 10 times funnier than he is smart. He's really funny, and that drives a lot of. So there's entertainment, but I don't know where I'm going with this conversation. Anyway, um, I forget what drove me on this to begin with. And let's see. I had to leave behind my 2 dogs when I fled from Venezuela. Oh, I'm sorry. It's terrible. It would break my heart to leave my dog. And Nature says, following your purchase of the S5, I have restarted doing video with my G9. Good results, looking good, 4K 10-bit 25 244. Or he probably mean 422, I think. Except for looking at Preview and Explorer Finder. Not sure what you mean by that. But yeah, the G9, the Micro Four Third Panasonics GH5, they have excellent 4K 422 10-bit internal, I believe, the GH5 anyway, and then certainly externally. Panasonic's always been known for their video capabilities, and I was very close to getting a G9 instead of the S5 because it's half the price, if not more. And but when I saw some other testing that was done comparing the latest Panasonic, that little cube box camera that's supposed to be 422 10-bit internal and it's dedicated for video, they compared that, which is like a GH5S equivalent, give or take, against the S5, right? And there was no comparison. The S5 still blew it away. So I said, I wanted to have a competitive edge, so that's why I went S5. In video, anyway. For photography, I could care less, It's not a photography camera. I'm a little excited at that, my old vintage Nikon glass. See, I don't have it on there now, but I did buy an adapter for it. Like, oh, this one here. I got my 35 f2 on a L-mount adapter. And so I'm excited doing that again, because this is, Nikon makes great glass. It's a lot cheaper than buying the frickin' primes and stuff that they have available now, right? Even the Sigmas are starting at $400 or $500 and up. They're having some good primes coming out, but affordable primes with autofocus, but it's like, yeah, that's still a chunk of change for a camera I'm not that interested in doing photography with to begin with. Um, oh, Walter, gotta go. Hey, Walter, sorry, missed you. Lunchtime here in Maryland. Yeah, yeah, I had a late breakfast, so I'm good. Yeah, nature says lighting's so important for both photos and videos, definitely. I mean, if you look at any of my videos that have where I use flash, I mean, the pictures come out so much better. I should do more videos on flash and using flash and showing the difference between with and without flash, because flash is just takes your photography to the next level. And it may be part of another video I'm going to be coming up with, where like 3 essential things, which I talked about in my last video. But you know, if you're going to do photography, if you want to take it to the next level, 3 things you got to have, every beginner, okay? Um, Tripod, variable ND filter, and a flash. If you have those 3 things, you can do everything in photography, pretty much. You don't really need much else. You know, you have your kit lens and your base camera. You got those 3 things, you can rock, you know, uh, every kind of photography available. Nothing's going to stop you. Because I watched a video about that Peter James Popsis just did a video on stuff every photographer should have. And I watched it and I thought they were okay, like a camera. You know, and he felt like needing a camera to be in photography was a good idea. He had some points there. I mean, that was a little weak to me, but he seemed to think it was important. And then having a camera bag, sure. And I forget what else it was. But in the end, I was like, you know, he makes great videos, and I love James Popsis, but um, he didn't have tripod, flash, or ND filter on his list there. And to me, it's like, how can you do photography or expand your photography without these 3 things? You know, those are key. And I don't care if you have the M1 Mark III with the best stabilization ever. Your photography will be better if you have any of those 3 things. You know, and if you have all 3, you're prepared for everything. In my opinion, you know, I always got to say that it's just my opinion. Um, Marcia says, when I focus, my focus spot keeps moving around. How do I make it stay in one place? Turn off your touch screen. There could be a couple of reasons, right? You don't have let me see if I can show you. Let me find a camera that's got any kind of... It's going to be upside down, but you can see it, I'm sure. So you click on your super control panel, and so first thing is make sure you're in single point autofocus. Oh, let me turn off the green screen. Sorry. Can't see anything. And then let me do one more thing and I'll show you, Marcia. Let me turn the brightness down. All right. Maybe zoom in a little. So, all right, so you go into the super control panel, you have your control points. So you want to make sure you're in single point autofocus. And right now things just move around, but you can click the info button and then this will change the number of focus points. I have it in 3x4 mode right now, but normally it's a much bigger selection. So just rotate this, and I'm just rotating the rear dial, and then click the info button and then move it to where you want it, right? So let's say you want it in the center. And then the other thing is, you see the little icon here that has the, looks like a little finger on a shutter button. Turn that off. So right now this is off. See, it has a little white arrow going, or right, it has your finger with a little do not sign. Right now it's probably set to this, and then what happens is your focus point moves around, say, like when your nose touches the screen. So usually I turn mine off like this. Where is it? I can't see. Yeah, off. I make sure that's off, so now nothing moves around accidentally, and I have single point autofocus, and that should get your focus point to stop moving. Oh, my green screen's gone. Oh no, I'm naked. Oh, I gotta put it back. I should put something else up for a green screen. I'm kind of tired of this wood paneling, you know. Um, okay. Hello, Aziz. Good to see you. And Morgan says there's some good articles on it if you Google it. Also, Da Vinci had some info on it if you use it for process. No idea what you're talking about there. Video related, it seems. And Zbert55, hello. And Lysippus says, never tell clients somebody does it better. Self-commitment, availability, and trust. Yeah, that's basically what I'm doing is I make myself available, and and they trust me. Let the client know what you invest in your product. Develop a unique style that shouts robtrek. Yeah, the unique style is another thing. With real estate or product photography, you want to reflect the property as accurately as possible. So it's hard to have a style when it comes to real estate photography. That being said, I've seen people have a certain look to their images that their clients have come to really like. And it was somebody I saw on YouTube. They interviewed him, but he never used any of the lighting in the house. He turned off all the lights in the house and would only use ambient light that was coming in. So his images ended up looking very soft and a little bit surreal, even if that makes sense. When you're using all natural lighting, somehow it becomes surreal. But it was really, he's obviously really good and probably charges a lot. So if I do come up with a style that is distinctly me, if I can think of anything, I'm not that creative, then yeah, I can charge a heck of a lot more if people are looking for that, no question. So I'm not saying that it can't be done in real estate photography, because it has. I've seen it. But the position that I'm in now, my skill set and my creativity, I'm sort of right in the pack of all the real estate photographers. I mean, I'm better than most, I think, but I'm still among the competitive photographers. I'm right in there. And some are a little better and a lot are not as good. But uh, yeah, so I think you make a lot of very strong points there. Particularly never tell a client somebody does it better. I didn't say he does it better. I just said he's very good, if I remember correctly. I didn't say he was better than me. I just said, yeah, he's very good, And when I saw him charging less, that's when I realized, I was like, wow. But I did tell the agent he's a very good photographer, and you should use him when you can for your larger properties, because I can't do the kind of work that he does. Because she does multi-million-dollar properties, and I've never gotten any of those jobs ever, even before this guy came along. She'd always give me the smaller ones, the townhouses. I've never done a single property for her, single family home, because those are multi-million-dollar properties in this area. But yeah, definitely a unique style. You could charge top dollar if you have a unique style in real estate photography. And I've only seen one. I haven't looked that hard, but the one that I did see, they definitely had a very unique style and was excellent. Yeah, reflectors work well. Yep, for flash and constant lighting, definitely. Um, I mean, I'm using a shoot-through umbrella. right now, you know, which works just as well with flash, but I'm using it with constant lighting. And just a reminder, US Get Olympus is going offline early January, until January, later today. Yeah. Good morning, pen pal. Hello. And Dave says, where will we get camera updates when the Olympus site goes dark? That's a good question because I haven't updated any of my firmware. I guess I better do that. Um, I mean, my cameras work fine. I don't really need a firmware update, but maybe I'll do my M1 Mark III today because it is, and my M1 Mark II. Both of them are like a couple of firmwares off. Or at least the M1 Mark II. I know I'm on like 3.1 and there's 3.4 is out now, so I'm like 3 behind. And my M1 Mark III, I'm at least 1 firmware behind. And Phil says, hey Rob, there's supposed to be a meteor shower tonight. Any tips on how to get pictures of it? Generally, when I do astrophotography, I dial in negative exposure comp because the stars or meteors, whatever it might be, are very bright compared to the dark black sky. So I would do that, and that'll keep your shutter speeds up as well. So dial in at least a -1, maybe a -2. Do a couple of test shots. Pre-focus and manually focus, right? So set your camera to manual focus and pre-focus on the stars so that the meteors will be in focus as well. And dial in about a -2 exposure. And you probably have to be at about ISO 1600 on top of that. And, you know, if you want to catch the meteors themselves, I would think, you know, maybe a semi-telephoto lens, like a 50 to 75 millimeter in that range would be kind of nice. Or if you want a wider view, then, you know, anywhere from, you know, 14 millimeter, 12 millimeter, or even 9 millimeter if you have it, like the 9 to 18 millimeter lens. If you want wider shots or tighter shots. So before the meteors come, you know, focus on the stars. You can do it at twilight hour when the stars just start to show. Once you set the manual focus, don't touch your focus ring. Take a few test shots at different exposures, try different focal lengths and different ISOs, but start at about 1600 ISO to keep your shutter speeds up, and you should be good. And let's see. Wow, I'm way behind. I'm like 20 minutes behind on the chat. And Zachary says Chelsea maybe. Yeah. Chelsea definitely has a great, you know, I'm jealous of Tony for Chelsea. So Chelsea, if you ever leave Tony, you know, give me a call. And let's see, I have the Panny 12 millimeter, Richard Francis, I have the Panasonic 12 millimeter f1.4. I have to say I love it, produces lovely results. I also have the Ollie 7 to 14. Yeah, both excellent lenses. And Dave Nelson says, put the Nuke site control panel back up. Oh, yeah, I like that one too. That's from Doctor Who episode, I think, Hand of Fear, with Eldorat or Alderad or somebody. That's a great screensaver. Only got 10 minutes left in the stream, but let me see. I do like that screensaver myself. This one. Oh, dang it. I killed my footer. I think it was this one. This is the one I want. My nuclear sight, this one. Yeah. Yeah, I like this one. I like this one too. All right. We haven't seen Rob do a camera gravity check lately. Yeah, I've been extremely careful because, you know, I make my own straps, right? And I discovered that if I loop this underneath this way, it doesn't come loose. But I used to loop it kind of randomly, and then randomly my camera strap would let go of the camera. But now I've been good, and I constantly check it. I walk around like this, holding the camera when it's on my side, so that when I pick it up, I double check the straps, and then I take a picture. I'm always really careful now. And Bob Finley says, why oh why on EM1 Mark III are the largest two buttons on top of the camera not programmable? Only option is to turn them off. Also, they took away bracketing HDR function from the front button. Yeah. The two largest buttons on the two largest buttons on top of the camera not programmable. Really? I mean, yeah. God dang it. I got both cameras mounted on my bracket here because I was doing the side-by-side testing. I mean, if you're talking about these two buttons, I know you can reprogram these two. And this one. You're talking about these two, I know those are they're all reprogrammable. As far as I know. Well, maybe not the record button, but that never has been. Actually, it can be reprogrammed a little bit when you're in movie mode, but I'll have to do a video on programming buttons maybe on this, and then I'll find out what you're talking about exactly, because I'm not seeing it right now. Okay. And Robin says, yes, every photographer should have sturdy tripod, good flash, and reliable filters. Agreed with you there, robtrek. Yes, absolutely. Lens hoods are optional, right, Robin? Lens hoods are optional. I use them, but you don't have to. uh, Lens hoods and autofocus is optional. I'm fine with manual focus. Robin's not. Little things like that. We all do things differently. And that's why photography is so great. You can make it your own, right? You can do whatever you want. um, I wouldn't even think to use the 7 to 14 if it was poorly lit scene. Yeah, it's like two stops darker, right, than your 12. And David says, I need Santa to give me the 150 to 400. That's all. That's all you want for Christmas, huh? All right. And let's see, where are we? I have the Panny 12F. Oh, I just read that. And the nuke site. I had to back up a little bit because I missed a lot of. I always miss questions. It's not on purpose. If I missed your question and I've gone past it, like I'm answering other people's questions, just ask me again. It's okay. I'm not ignoring any questions on purpose. It's totally because there's so many things here. Uh, I can see one, and that is the one I would love. Not sure why they list the other two on their site. And Levente, hey, how are you, Levente? I haven't seen you in a long time. My goodness, you used to submit pictures to edit all the time, and I haven't seen Jack. So hopefully everything's going well for you, though. I used to love your picture. You had a really good eye for color when you took your pictures. You know, without post-processing, I'm talking about the scene itself. You have a really good eye for that. So I always had fun editing your pictures. For people that don't know, I do a photo editing live stream, um, you know, after this one, which is what, in about 10 more minutes. Let's see. I think I'm caught up there. Lawrence says, never had. How about some Christmas decorations? Roy's asking Christmas decorations as a back screen. Maybe. I don't have any right now. I might do that starting next week, though. And Lawrence has never had a problem with the focus point moving. I guess I have a short nose. And Robin Wong, you rock. Absolutely. Robin does rock. Robin and Peter, Jimmy, Maddie. I've really been liking the videos from Maddie lately, too. He's been doing some photo walks. And you can tell he's just having so much fun, you know. I shoot left-eyed. Rangefinder cameras do not work for me if the touchscreen is on. Yeah, I get that. And Nature says, just been using a blue screen. Green would be a problem with my green pattern shirt and waistcoats. Yes, in my room and for keying the latest video clips of my photos. Okay. I have a blue screen. I tried it, but you can see I wear blue all the time. You know, that's kind of my color. It's probably my favorite color is blue. I think I'm going to paint my room blue if I ever get to it. I'm still sleeping on the sofa until I get my room done. It's been 2 years now. I can't believe I just admitted that on live screen, but yeah. And thank you, Dave. Very nice of you to say. They're both very cool people, and we don't have to try at it and learn tons. Yes. And John Fowler says, you'll probably find that Jane Popsis doesn't do the kind of photography that needs flash. Yeah. Having just moved to Wales, he probably needs a good pair of walking boots. Absolutely. God, I'm still wearing my walking boots from the photo walk this morning. They're actually really uncomfortable. I think I'll just loosen them a little bit. Oh my God. It's amazing what you don't pay, you know, when I'm like talking to you guys, you just kind of get used to pain. Let me take these things off. Oh yeah, good thing you guys can't smell all this, but these are great. These are Merrell's, man, waterproof. I got these at Goodwill for like $15 and they were like brand new. And brand new, they sell for about $150, you know, or $180, something like that. These are awesome. Yeah, I shop at Goodwill a lot. Actually, this vest I bought for real, like at a normal store, because I just like vests in general, and it's hard to find a good vest at Goodwill. This shirt, yeah, is Goodwill, but and anyway, yeah, James doesn't do a lot of flash stuff, right? He wouldn't need one. That's true. You know, but it's like there's so many freaking British landscape photographers. You know, none of them use flash, right? You don't see too many US-based landscape photographers. There's probably 100 of them out there, and I just don't know where they are on YouTube. But every time I look at a landscape video, it's usually some British guy in Wales, right? I'm trying to catch up. Trying to catch up here. I'm on 12:11, so I am 10 minutes behind now. So I am caught up. It's thought to be some the buttons on the left are not. Are you kidding me? They are programmable. I mean, I've never had a need to reprogram them. I'm just because this is my pro camera that I use. So I use the custom modes, and all I need to do is hit the shutter button. Let me take it off this frickin' bracket. You guys have got to be kidding me. So I go in the button menu. So button function. Bap 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 bap. Grip. I'll be dang. Center button off. Direction key. Dial function. Function lever. All right, so I am corrected. Lock on or off? What the heck? You are right. There is nothing. I'm just for those of you that, but yeah, if I scroll down, you can see none of the buttons are there. And if I go back, you gotta be kidding me. Because these are programmable like on the M5. Because I have reprogrammed these. I know I have. Yeah, I'm a little surprised. I'm a little surprised myself at that. Holy smokes. David says, you did the firmware update through Wi-Fi. Man, you are brave. I mean, doing a firmware update takes a little bit of bravery to begin with, though, right? Because you always worry, you know, you're going to brick your camera. At least I am. And then Peter Quinn says, hi, Rob. I'm looking at a macro converter lens rather than extension tubes. Do you agree? If you're talking about, if it's an Olympus branded macro converter lens, the one that they sell for the kit lens, maybe, you know, that would be okay. There's some very cheap ones that you can buy that screw on the front like a filter. Those are okay. You know, if you just want to experiment a little, they're like 10 bucks or something. But again, if you want to do critical macro work, you're talking about buying more expensive ones, like $100. Those will give you much better optical quality. But then when you start spending that much, you might start thinking about actually buying a real macro lens. But personally, I prefer extension tubes, even though you lose a little bit of light. With macro work, you really should be using flash anyway, so that's a non-issue by losing the light. That's just my feeling. I feel like extension tubes are better than macro because they're like $25 for extension tubes, and you throw in a flash and you're good to go, versus the type that screws on the front. To get a good one, they get a little bit expensive. But if you want to buy cheap ones, you know, that's fine too, and just play around, and you can get decent image quality. Because you're so close with macro work, it's hard to tell, but you'll definitely see a little bit of loss in image quality. How much, I can't say, because I've never personally bought any of those kind of products. So I'm just speaking out my butt when it comes to screw-on type macro things on the front, but from other reviews that I've seen on those types of lenses, they're not very good except for the expensive ones, like the one from Olympus that goes on the kit lens. But I do have experience with extension tubes, and I can speak, you know, to that, and it does do very well with flash. Without flash, yeah, you lose light, and you have to be kind of conscious of your shutter speeds and things like that. But you know, I think that regardless of the macro work you're going to be doing, you should be using a flash. And TD Totter is asking, any recommendations for a budget ND filter? I have the 14 to 42 Easy, the 45 f1.8, and the 40 to 150 f4. Take I need for each lens. No, you can buy one ND filter, and I would get a variable ND filter, not a single ND filter. You get a variable ND filter, and I use the K&F Concepts X Nano. And buy the one with the biggest lens ring. So that would probably be your 40 to 150, I think, is a 52. I forget it's up there. But look at your 40 to 150 and what the ring size is on that, and buy the ring size for your 40 to 150, and then buy a step ring kit, step rings, kit for like another like $15 to $20 for a step ring kit so that you can adapt them to the other lenses. Just make sure the step ring kit has the ring sizes that you need to step that down. But K&F Concepts X Nano. You want to get the X Nano. It's about 50 bucks. I don't recommend buying a cheaper ND filter than that because they suck. I mean, they'll mess up your image quality and they'll have weird lines and shading. So the K&F Concepts, so don't buy a cheap one. Just get a good one or good enough. K&F Concepts X Nano, and then a filter ring step kit, and make sure the right step rings will fit. Because I had to buy a step ring kit and one more ring because it wasn't included in the kit. So those are the two things. And so you're looking at about $70, $75 to really get one good variable ND filter step ring kit, and you can use it on all your lenses. Oh, 2 minutes to my next stream. So I'm going to skim through. Meteors, you can do live composite. Yes. Good idea. And the buttons on the left or not. Yeah, I'm going to miss all of these questions. I have to go to my next stream. Nature says, had a few issues on updating my EM1X with bird tracking software, but all okay now. Good. Raynox are great for mate. Yeah, the Raynox I hear, but I think they're a little bit expensive. But thank you, Jeff. That's the brand I was thinking of when people were talking about the macro type things that you screw on the front. Jan would like a cheaper S5 for photography. No, that's not happening. The closest thing is their G9, really. I have the Olympus B macro I got with the Uzi years ago. It's still decent. Yep. You still haven't been able to get the one moment message off when connected to my PC. Oh, that's weird. Try a different computer, because on one of my laptops I can't get it to update firmware. And I was so scared I bricked my camera because I was having a similar issue. Maybe it was stuck at the same place yours is or at a different place, but it got stuck. So try a different computer if you have one, and it'll probably work. That's what I had to do. I had to go to a different laptop to update my firmware. My new one works fine. My older one works fine, but the one I just replaced with my new one does not update the firmware for some reason. I don't know why. Whether it's the USB drivers that are in that laptop, it's a Dell. It's a Dell laptop. So maybe if you have a Dell laptop and you're having problems, try a different brand. Okay, Rob, you had the X100F, I think. What was it that you didn't like and made you change to the XT30? I can't remember now. I'm planning on getting a Ricoh GR or an X100 camera always with me. Couple of things. You know, the image stabilization, lack thereof, the lack of a tilt screen were the two main things. Two main things was I could not get shutters. You know, I can't hand hold the camera without image stabilization below like 1/60th of a second. Otherwise, I start getting image blur. I have to have image stabilization. Then I can get down to 1/20th of a second pretty comfortably. So a lot of my night photography were just motion blur. Then the other thing, the lack of the tilt screen was definitely an issue. So I was having trouble composing my shots. Like for street photography, a lot of times you're kind of low and you can't compose your shots without it. So those were the two main things. I did like the viewfinder when I was just doing eye level stuff. That was fine. But if I remember correctly, those were the two main issues I had, was lack of image stabilization and non-tiltable screen. Image quality was fine. It wasn't great wide open. It was a little bit soft when you're shooting at f2.8. But you know, I didn't care about that too much. But I mean, that wasn't what made me trade it back in. The image quality was perfectly acceptable, if not very good, especially when you stop down. But in terms of workflow and the controls were a little bit off for me. I mean, I didn't keep it long enough to get used to it, which, you know, over time you will get used to anything, but so that was why. I'd probably go Ricoh GR3 if I was looking at a small camera like that again. Okay, yep, time expired. Oh my God, it's 12:33. Okay, guys, thanks so much for being here with me today. I have to go over to my photo editing live stream. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend it with me. It's always a lot of fun for me. Hopefully I made it fun for you guys as well. Thanks again, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. I'll be back on Tuesday, God willing.